One wrong street. One ruined life. And a secret I couldn't bury. It wasn't a big lie. That's the part that eats me alive the most. I was 17, working weekends at a grimy little pizza joint that smelled like burnt cheese and broken dreams. My job was mostly phones, answering calls, taking orders, trying to sound chipper while some guy screamed because his pepperoni was off-center. It was dull, greasy, and paid exactly enough to keep gas in my car and hot Cheetos in my backpack. One Saturday around 9 p.m., the place was slammed. We were short-staffed, and our delivery guy, Chris, was pacing like his shoes were on fire. He was maybe 21, lanky, nice in that tired college kid way. Always polite. Always a little sad around the eyes, like life had clipped his wings early. He leaned over the counter and asked, "Anything else for delivery before I head out?" Just as he said it, the phone rang. I glanced at the screen. Unknown number. I'd already taken 3 prank calls that night and I was done. So I hit decline. Looked up. Smiled. "Nope. You're good to go." He nodded, grabbed the 2 stacked boxes, and walked out into the humid night. That was it. The moment. The phone rang again 30 seconds later. Same number. This time, I answered. A shaky voice on the other end. "Hi. I think I messed up the address. I'm so sorry, can you tell the driver not to go to 14th Street? It's 41st. I froze. Blinked. Tried to speak, but my mouth went dry. Chris had just pulled out of the parking lot. No GPS. No idea he was heading to the wrong side of town. All I managed was, "I'll try to reach him." I didn't. I couldn't. His flip phone was ancient, and he didn't check it while driving. He'd said that himself, too many close calls. I don't look at texts till I stop. I told myself it'd be fine. That he'd figure it out. That it wasn't my fault the customer had screwed up their address. That no one would even remember this 10 minutes from now. But I was wrong. So wrong. Because that one wrong turn, that one missed update, changed everything. I didn't even connect it at first. I was sitting in the kitchen, spoon deep in cereal, background TV noise buzzing while my brain played the usual Monday denial soundtrack. I was half watching the local news, mostly zoning out, until I heard the words. Local delivery driver seriously injured in late-night hit-and-run on 14th Street. Time froze. I looked up, saw the map, felt my stomach drop. It was our neighborhood. My street. That street. The anchor said the driver's name was Christopher T. Monroe. Age 21. Condition critical. No suspects. No witnesses. I dropped the spoon. Milk splashed across the table. My mom yelled something from the living room, but her voice didn't register. All I could hear was blood roaring in my ears and my own voice whispering on loop. "Nope. You're good to go." I grabbed my phone. Checked my messages. Nothing from the store. No alerts. No one was talking about it in our group chat. I texted my manager. "Was that Chris on the news?" He replied 2 hours later. "Yeah. It's bad." That was all. For a moment I convinced myself I didn't matter in this. That I wasn't involved. I mean, the customer had given the wrong address. Chris chose to drive without checking messages. I wasn't behind the wheel of the car that hit him and sped off into the night. But deep down, the guilt was already curling like smoke under the floorboards. Because I had ignored the call. I had sent him out blind. And now he was in the ICU. They said it happened fast. He'd parked near the corner looking confused, probably trying to call the customer. Witnesses said they saw him step out of the car, holding the pizza box, phone in the other hand, just standing there like he wasn't sure which building it was. The car came around the bend doing 60 in a 35. Didn't stop. Didn't slow down. Hit him straight on. Kept driving. His spine fractured in 3 places. Punctured lung. Head trauma. No camera footage. No plate number. Nothing. He didn't die. But he didn't walk again either. I didn't go to the hospital. Didn't visit. Didn't message. I wanted to, but I couldn't figure out what to say. What do you say to someone whose life you may have altered with one careless decision? "Sorry, I declined the call that could have saved your legs?" So I stayed quiet. Time passed. He disappeared from the schedule. The store hired a new driver. People stopped talking about it. But I couldn't forget. Because every time I passed 14th Street, I saw it, the ghost of a moment where I could have done something. Where everything still might have been okay. I graduated. Left town. Swore I'd start fresh somewhere people didn't know. I'd once let someone walk into a disaster because I didn't feel like answering the phone. But the thing about guilt is that it doesn't need reminders. It's patient. It waits in the background, flaring up when you hear a similar name or pass a hospital or watch someone cross a street with their phone out. It got worse in college. I kept replaying that moment in my head, the way Chris had looked at me, trusting, casual, like a guy just doing his job. And how I'd smiled and said, "Nope. You're good to go," like I hadn't just shut the door on fate. I never told anyone. Not friends. Not even my therapist when I eventually started seeing one junior year. I brought up general guilt issues, vague anxiety, insomnia, but I left that part out. I thought if I didn't speak it, it wouldn't solidify. And for a while, I managed to keep it buried. Until I came home for Thanksgiving. I ran into Chris's mom at the grocery store. I didn't recognize her at first. She looked older, thinner, like life had worn her down in layers. But when she saw me, her whole body stiffened, like she'd just stepped into a memory she wasn't prepared for. I gave a polite smile, already trying to shrink into the cereal aisle. But she didn't move. Instead, she said, "You worked at Tony's, right?" My stomach flipped. I nodded. "Yeah. A while ago." She stared at me for a beat too long. Then she said, "He never blamed anyone. Not even the driver. He said some people just make mistakes." I blinked. My throat tightened. She continued, "But he was never the same after that. Not just physically. Mentally, too. Something in him cracked. He used to write music. Had a whole notebook. After the accident, he threw it all out." My hands were gripping the card handle so tight I thought it might snap in half. I didn't respond. What could I say? She didn't wait for me to. She just looked past me like I wasn't even there anymore and said, "You never know what one choice can break." Then she walked away. I stood there surrounded by boxed cereal and fluorescent lights, feeling like I'd just been gut-punched by a ghost. Not her, him. Because in that moment, I realized something horrifying. I hadn't just cost him a job or the use of his legs. I'd cost him himself. It took 5 more years. 5 years of carrying that invisible weight like a stone in my chest, pretending it was just part of growing up, that we all had regrets, that not all wounds needed to be spoken out loud. But guilt doesn't fade with time. It just grows quieter. More familiar. Like background noise you can't ever quite shut off. I ran into Chris at a community fundraiser my mom dragged me to. He was there with a local outreach group. They were donating refurbished wheelchairs to low-income families. There was a booth, a few volunteers, and him, sitting behind a table, laughing with someone, wearing a navy hoodie and that same tired kindness I remembered from the pizza shop. I froze. My palms went cold. I tried to walk past, but he saw me. He waved. And smiled. Like nothing had ever happened. My legs carried me toward him before my brain could stop them. "Hey," I said, my voice smaller than I'd expected. "It's been a while." He nodded. "Yeah. I remember you." My mouth went dry. For a second, I thought about lying, just walking away with the illusion intact. But I couldn't do it anymore. I looked him in the eye and said, "I think I owe you an apology." He blinked. "For what?" I took a breath so deep it hurt. "That night. The accident. I got a call right before you left. I declined it. Said there were no new orders. And then the customer called again and told me the address was wrong. I didn't get in touch with you." I froze. I didn't try hard enough. And I think about it all the time. Silence. Long, aching silence. Chris didn't speak right away. His smile dropped. His eyes narrowed slightly, not angry, just recalibrating. Like he was suddenly looking at the past from a new angle. Finally, he said, "Huh? That was it. Just huh." Then he leaned back and looked at the sky for a second before saying, "You know what's funny? I always thought I screwed something up. Like maybe I misread the ticket. For years, I blamed myself. Like, if I double-checked, none of that would have happened." I swallowed hard. "You didn't. It was me." He stared at me, quiet. Then said something I didn't expect. "Thanks for telling me." Not angry. Not bitter. Just flat. Then he added, weirdly, "That helps." I didn't know how to respond. He looked down at his hands. "It sucked. Still sucks, sometimes. But it led me here. I do work I actually care about now. I don't know who I'd be if it didn't happen." I nodded slowly, still unsure if that made me feel better, or worse. Before I could walk away, he said one more thing. "You're not the only butterfly." I looked at him, confused. He gave a half shrug. "We all mess up. But some people never admit it. Most just fly off and pretend they never shook the wind." I left the fundraiser that day feeling like my skin didn't quite fit, like something had been peeled off and I wasn't sure what was underneath yet. But the noise in my head? It was quieter. Not gone, but quieter. And sometimes, that's enough.